Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And welcome to another very special edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Brian, what's up, man? Welcome back. I know it's only been an episode, but welcome back, man.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, bro. Once again, rocking the DJ Springs hat. Also, love to see it as well.
DJ Springs, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
I think they actually got a show coming up sometime in October. I can't remember.
Okay.
It actually might be October 5th, I think, actually.
October 5th. Okay. Bad Blood. Yeah. That's when Bad Blood is. That's actually funny.
That's when Bad Blood is, yeah.
That's when Bad Blood is, October 5th. Yeah. Okay, nice. Again, yeah, shout out to DJ Springs if he is checking this out. With DJ Springs, we did have a interview with him on this said platform in the studio. It is on all of our platforms if you guys do want to check it out. If you don't know who DJ Springs is, he is a pro wrestler for a company called Extreme World Wrestling. We did a nice little sit-down interview with him. Really good kid, only 18 years old, and just has, everything pretty much, under control, and very mature kid, very well-spoken kid. Yeah. And we're rooting for him, hopefully,
Absolutely.
Hopefully things are going in the right direction for him. Hopefully things fall into place for him. And again, if you want to check out that video, it's on our platform right now on YouTube, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So let's dive into it, man. You guys know the main dish for today is Monday Night Raw. There's a lot to get into, and as well as a few other things to get into. First and foremost, now I know most of you guys will probably, who are listening to this right now, will probably catch this probably tomorrow, maybe later on this week. But as of today, today is 9/11. And I do want to kind of take a time to kind of just pay my condolences to those people that have lost their lives, as well as the families and friends and loved ones. For somebody like me that, is originally from New York, and that tragic day that happened on that day over 20 years ago now. It's crazy that it's been over 20 years since that tragic day has happened. But, since it is that day, September 11th, I do want to give just a shout out to those people who have lost their lives on that tragic day, and also to those people who have lost their lot, or the families and friends of loved ones of those said people. Again, just something that has just been so tragic, and that's something that truly we will never forget on this earth for its entirety. So once again, just much love to those people that have lost their lives on this tragic day. And once, it's the old saying, right? Never forget. So, but much love to those people that unfortunately, going through that loss on this tragic day, and much love and much thoughts and prayers to everybody. So, but with all that being said, let's jump into this show. Let's start off, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about everybody's favorite person in professional wrestling. Well, maybe not really, but Vincent Kennedy McMahon. That's right. If you guys have been, living under a rock as of late, Vince McMahon has a documentary coming out. That's right. It'll be Netflix is releasing a new documentary that is coming out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today. That is September 25th. Pretty much just going over the creative genius, everything as a whole when it comes to Vince McMahon, the CEO, the mastermind of Vince McMahon creating professional wrestling, being the mastermind of professional wrestling, and as well as the downside of Vince McMahon. As originally this documentary was cut off because of those accusations and everything that's happened over the last several months, but then Netflix was like, oh, you know what? This actually could be really good for us, viewers and hourly numbers, right? So why don't we just bring it back and kind of just switch and flip the narrative? And that's what they did. So that documentary will be released as of September 25th. And it's very interesting, right? And Brian, I'll kind of send this off to you in regards to some thoughts that you may have about this. But obviously, of course, I'm sure everybody is interested to maybe see what Netflix has in store, what this documentary has in store. I know I'll definitely probably check it out at some point. But I do find it interesting, right? Because right now, Netflix is very, very close. We're several months away from Netflix and WWE and this partnership coming up in 2025, right? And this is now, and I've made some research that as of today or this month, September and October, are very busy months for these streaming services, networks, in regards to partnering up with certain companies, right? This is kind of like that hot period to try to place all of their ducks in a row. And you have Netflix, right? To where the timing of this, Brian, I'm not going to lie, is very, very weird. And I'll explain why that is. Because on one end, you're trying to promote Monday Night Raw going to Netflix, right? January 25th, you're trying to build up all this hype and all this talk. And at the same time, in 2 weeks, you're talking about this guy, Vince McMahon, who was pretty much corrupting the company from within, right? That's kind of the narrative of this documentary, as well as other things. But then, oh yeah, we're working with them. We just signed a 5-year deal. But don't worry, watch the network, watch Monday Night Raw. We swear things have changed, right? So I don't know. I just think it's the timing of it is very weird. I feel like if they were going to do this documentary, it would have been around WrestleMania, maybe Royal Rumble season. So that way you can still spring in some spark and some talk and some buzz around the wrestling world. But the fact that, it's Vince McMahon, and it wasn't too long ago that we heard all of these accusations about him and everything else, and you guys know what I'm talking about, to where now, you're trying really hard as a company to promote Raw, but you're also promoting this documentary that has a lot of things that WWE as well as Triple H have trying to sweep underneath the rug. Like, hey, we don't want to talk about this, right? We would choose not to talk about it. We're just focusing on business. WWE is on fire, financially at least. So I think it just puts WWE and even Triple H, even though I know you guys know sometimes I'm very critical with Triple H, but it does put Triple H, who's in these media scrums and everything, in a bad position to where he knows that this documentary, his father-in-law, is going to be talked about. And he's pretty much back in the wrestling world, at least as for now, with this documentary. So it definitely puts a lot of people in WWE just in a very uncomfortable position to where they try to sweep it underneath the rug. But now, as this documentary continues to get closer and closer, they're going to be asked more and more questions about it, So it's a very interesting just timing in regards to when this documentary is out and trying to, at the same time, promote Monday Night Raw going to Netflix. And hopefully we're still hopeful that when they do go to Netflix, Monday Night Raw does become maybe a little bit edgier, a lot more entertaining, and we'll see in regards to that. But Brian, what are your thoughts, man, about Vince McMahon, this documentary, just and everything as a whole when it comes to it? What are your thoughts?
Man, I don't even know where to start with this, really. Like, I'll say this: like, if Vince is the final say, the executive, not the executive producer, but if this is like he has control of this, right? Which, I mean, Vince McMahon having control of what he does is legendary, right? So that's number one. I'm skeptical of that because, look, well, I'm very interested if none of this had existed and it was a documentary about Vince and how really a real in-depth look of how he created WWE and all those things. Sure, interesting. But then when you get into this realm, I'm sorry, I'm not going to believe a fucking thing he says, man. I mean, 100%. Like, I mean, it's granted, yes, I don't know. I have no physical evidence, but there's just some things where, man, you're fucking guilty. You did this shit. So that part, I'm just like how much truth is really going to be in it,
Yeah,
another thing too. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I agree to that. They could, because, I mean, Netflix is now in a working relationship with WWE, they would try to maybe put a spin on it to where not every single detail and everything its entirety has been told in regards to what's truly been going on. So they're trying to maybe cover their own ass. Yeah, and that's definitely a possibility for sure. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like one of those things where like both things can be true, right? Like, yeah, Vince McMahon was a creative genius, so to speak, in the early 80s, throughout the 90s, and whatever. And he's also become a very rich, very controlling, powerful billionaire that, yeah, kind of is a piece of shit human being in
Mm-hmm.
some regards. I mean, both things are true. Like, so, but then the other thing that struck me was like, yeah, it's kind of weird that WWE is going to Netflix and Netflix is putting on this documentary.
Right.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's weird. I
It is.
don't,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really have another word to describe it other than being weird and just how, yes, it's going to put people in awkward positions of questions that uh, they don't have the answer, nor should they be the ones answering them. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the documentary is going to do just fine. I'm sure it's going to get a lot of views. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of skeptical about, you know, look, I mean, he is a guy that's been in the media for decades upon decades. Um, he has in the past 2 years or so, like, oh man, I mean, some shit has come out about you, dude, and like, I just wonder if this is going to be kind of like a fluff piece to like, hey, we gotta, do something to get some credibility back here. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it'll be interesting, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's why I brought up, like, you might as well just release this during Royal Rumble WrestleMania season, because now Monday Night Raw is already on Netflix. There's a lot of buzz going about WrestleMania season and Royal Rumble season, to where it's not really overshadowing Monday Night Raw going to Netflix, right? Or maybe not
Mhm.
overshadowing, but maybe becoming more of a higher talking point in the wrestling world. Because I mean, it's Vince McMahon, right? And no doubt, who knows of how far in detail they're really going to go in regards to the downside of Vince McMahon, right?
Because
Becoming,
I
he
mean,
was one.
100% Vince McMahon isn't going to be honest about that.
No,
No fucking way. Not a
no,
fucking chance.
right, yeah. And it's interesting of who else is going to be also kind of maybe also narrating this in regards to,
Yeah.
they put a lot of
Yep.
other people that maybe speak about this. So maybe you'll probably get kind of two different stories, maybe one from Vince McMahon and maybe
Maybe.
a
Yeah,
different story
maybe.
from maybe other people too, to where a lot of maybe not questions being answered, but maybe more questions than answers. But definitely
Yeah.
it is very just odd timing, just more for Netflix than anything. It's just
Yeah.
very weird and how they're kind of going about this, knowing all the accusations about Vince McMahon, and on top of that, trying to promote Monday Night Raw going to Netflix January 2025. It's just a very, very, very weird, man. Just very weird
Yeah.
business.
Yep.
But we'll see. We'll see about this. I mean, listen, I'm interested, of course. I'm sure a lot of people are interested to see kind of how kind of things go down with this documentary. I mean, shoot, even with Vince McMahon not even being a part of company and suits and ties, this dude still finds a way to be the talking point of professional wrestling in WWE, and here it is, right? At least
Yeah.
for now, for a short amount of time. So I'm sure we'll see how this documentary is. I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about this documentary. Once it does release and everybody kind of gets to watch it, we'll definitely kind of come
Yeah.
back to it and definitely see how things unfold in regards to it. But our next topic, man, let's get into the USA Network, right? We talked about Netflix, but let's get to the USA Network. The USA Network is making a lot of moves. One of them, obviously, we know about is SmackDown. They have their season premiere on the USA Network is SmackDown. They are done with Fox. The last episode of Fox was just this past Friday, and the first
Mhm.
episode on the USA Network for SmackDown will be this coming Friday. As of course we'll talk SmackDown later on. I know Brian is a
Yeah.
happy camper because for freaking God knows how long he couldn't
I
watch
mean,
that shit
since we
on
started this
Fox.
podcast, yeah.
So I know Brian's a happy camper that he'll be able to watch it on cable television instead of broadcast television. So, but not only that, The USA Network, guys, this is great. This is such great news, at least for the rest of this calendar year. The USA Network is now cutting Monday Night Raw to a 2-hour show throughout the rest of 2024.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Yes!
For
Brian,
sure.
how many times, bro? How many times have I been screaming for this,
Yeah.
man? Finally. Now, yes, if you guys are wondering, is this going to be a long-term thing? Unfortunately, it is not. Once they do go to Netflix, once Monday Night Raw is on Netflix, Monday Night Raw will be going back to a 3-hour show. It's unfortunate with streaming services like Netflix. They live off of hours. They live off of hourly content. They would make Monday Night Raw 100 hours if they pretty much wanted to. But as of
But
the
it could
USA,
be better with things they might be able to do. We'll see.
we'll see. That's the hope in regards to it.
Yeah.
So, but as of right now, man, the USA Network is back to a 2-hour show for Monday Night Raw. And I get it, man. Sometimes as wrestling fans, listen, I love professional wrestling just as much as the next person, right? You know, sometimes we think, oh, more wrestling and more fun for everybody, right? But sometimes, guys, there's got to be more quality than there is quantity, right?
Yeah,
Just because
for
there's
sure.
more quantity of wrestling doesn't make good quality television, man. And for so long, Brian, I've been screaming this for months and months, and for over a year since we've had this podcast, is that Monday Night Raw needs to be cut to 2 hours. There's a TikTok and an Instagram freaking video on our platform, me screaming about that too. And just at least for a certain amount of time, and this deal will be starting as of October 7th, is when that first episode of Monday Night Raw, October 7th, will be cut down to 2 hours. The USA Network, they know that Monday Night Raw and WWE, their ratings are going backwards and not forwards anyway. SmackDown is kind of their only hope in doing business with WWE at this point, and we'll talk more numbers later on in the show. But I've been screaming for this, man. Like, listen, I know we want talents, right? Talents that we like and we respect to get television time and all this stuff. But guys, if it's not drawing in numbers, if it's not something that the USA Network feels that they're getting more investment in, they feel like they're not getting their benefits from their investment with which is WWE, then they got to do what they got to do. And honestly, the less of this show, the hour that you do cut in this show could dramatically improve this show. Will it? Time will only tell. That's also the hope too. But Brian, What are your thoughts, man? Monday Night Raw starting October 7th will be back to a 2-hour show from October 7th throughout the rest of 2024. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, man, I'm all for it, man. I dig it because, dude, my old ass does not want to stay up much past 10 o'clock, man, especially when I got to go to work on Tuesday, dude. Like,
that too, right? That too.
So, yeah. Yeah, I'm all for it, man. And, I don't know what the reasoning per se is behind it, but, I'll speak to it in this way. Like, I'm glad that Triple H is really changing things, in that for so long, after WWE put WCW out of business, right? It was WWE was the only game in town, really.
Mm-hmm.
And look, Vince, the way Vince is and was and ran his company is like, I mean, the guy, he was, working, at the gym, doing weird sex shit. I guess I don't know, but like, dude, like if you weren't on his grind the way he was, right? Like everything, like holidays, fuck your family. I don't care. You're at work, like. So I like this. We're getting into the holidays. I mean, I like the 2-hour show. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason behind it, but like I like the approach that Triple H seemingly has taken, and maybe TKO and others it's just more wrestler friendly. And I'm all for that. So
right.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, Brian, in regards to it, is that this decision was not even made by WWE. This was actually made by the network itself and network executives. So Triple H and even if Triple H and even if Triple H wanted to do so, because he's even said it for so long now, he doesn't know how to book the third hour. He can't book the third hour. He's said it now.
Which is so that boggles my mind to me. Like, I don't, when he says that, like, I get it that it's like running, a long show. But my thought of it is, I don't understand, or maybe there are restrictions on, even on the USA Network that I'm not aware of course. But like, my thinking is, you can get away and be with the most creative in hour 10 to 11 p.m., I would assume.
Yeah.
So why is it so hard to do that? And yeah, maybe it's more risque, maybe it cusses a little more or something, I don't know, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's so difficult.
Yeah, whether it's a Vince McMahon product or a Triple H product, right? It's just that third hour has been a chore. Monday Night Raw for majority of the time has been a chore to get through, right? It truly has. Just with the amount of filler that's been on this show, right? With tournaments and the women's division, the women's tag division, right? The mid-card division. I can go down the line in regards to things just are lackluster, the same exact segment from previous weeks, and nothing truly gets accomplished, maybe outside of 1 or 2 segments a week. And that's it, right? And the USA Network sees that, right? They see that. That's why they're no longer even doing business with Monday Night Raw anymore. Sure. And now that they're at least their last saving grace is at least with SmackDown to see, all right, maybe with with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, maybe there's a little bit more star power. Maybe we can do one last business try with WWE to maybe see if they can crack over a 2 million or maybe more. Who knows? But again, man, whether it's a Triple H or a Vince McMahon product, for years, Monday Night Raw for 3 hours is just too much. It's just way too much because nothing gets accomplished in the show. Exactly. It's too long, as well as, like you said, Brian, I know a lot of people by 11 o'clock, they just want to just pass the fuck out and they want to go to sleep, right? It's with work and everything in the morning. But not only that, man, it's just for the product itself. It's just, I get it, guys. Like, some fans are up in arms, some fans about it, to where, this, giving 3-hour show is a better opportunity for other talents. But guys, if nothing's getting accomplished with those talents, they're no better off just not even being on the show anyway, right? Back in the day, Brian, right? This is better than I do. If you were not drawing in numbers, right? If you were on a quarterly hour and you weren't drawing in numbers, you weren't on the show, period. That's it.
Yeah,
Vince Russo, I know a lot of people mention Vince Russo. It's a mixed bag with him. But, I mean, it's true what he says in regards to it. Like, I mean, if you were not drawing in numbers, you were not going to be on the show. If people were not captivated by you, if they did not have a connection with you to see what you do next, you were not going to be on that show. It doesn't matter if you deserve something, right? If you've busted your butt or whatever. And again, we all know how hard these talents work to get to a certain spot.
Sure.
But sometimes as a businessman, you have to make those sacrifices with some of those talents. It's unfortunate, right? It really is. Because again, and I always talk about, even on this podcast, and that's why I'm so critical the way I am about this wrestling product, is because I want these wrestlers and I want the product to bring the best out of each other, but if the numbers are not showing that, then something's got to give, and finally the USA Network, they put their foot down and they gave that third hour, Das Boots, out of here, toodles. So thank fucking God, man. Thank God, at least for a certain amount of time throughout this calendar year, October 7th. I can't wait until that day comes to where maybe we can get, hopefully, again, it's the hope that the product and the show gets better, right? SmackDown, they have to, right? They're already a 2-hour show, right? And is with all the star power that they have, we know SmackDown has really been lacking as of late. They are going to need to step the fuck up. And now Monday Night Raw, now you got a 2-hour show. There's a lot less stress and tension off of you. You don't have to worry about that third hour. Now they also need to step the fuck up. Will they? Time will only tell in regards to it. But so that's pretty much it in regards to at least the USA Network side of things. as well as Netflix, and we'll talk more about it once we do get closer to the documentary, and of course, when we get closer and closer to Netflix in 2025. Now, let's talk some actual pro wrestling. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. So for Monday Night Raw, there's a lot of topics to talk about this show, at least that we want to cover for today. Let's start right from the top of the show. Let's start off with the Wyatt Six. The Wyatt Six were in a street fight with American Made. You had Chad Gable, the Creed brothers, and Ivy Nile. You had Nikki Cross, you had Joe Gacy, you had Dexter Lumis, and you had Eric Rowan. And of course, you had Uncle Howdy at ringside. You had trash cans, you had kendo sticks, you had chairs, you had everything. Is it a street fight, or was this just a no DQ? Because pretty much just seems like a no DQ. And I'll kind of go further in detail about that in just a second. But Uncle Howdy gets involved later in this match, hits Sister Abigail to Chad Gable. And Chad Gable ends up getting pinned from a splash from the top rope by Dexter Lumis. And the Wyatts pick up the W. Obviously, that needed to happen. It's unfortunate that this group, American Made, has had to put this faction over countlessly in singles, tag, now street fight action. But you have to, right? The Wyatt Six, they're the more, I guess, intriguing faction, right? They just debuted not too long ago. But of course, I mean, you could say the same thing about American Made too. So I don't know. I don't know what else you could possibly do at this point with both of these teams, but I guess we'll soon find out. But I mean, the right decision was made. The match itself, it was just a no DQ. That's because I don't see the difference of what even Nia Jax and Michin did just a couple weeks ago on SmackDown. Chairs, trash cans, everything. It's cool. Cool spots. The cool spot that I remembered was Nikki Cross hitting a German suplex to Chad Gable. I thought that was pretty darn cool and a pretty darn epic moment there. Much love again to Chad Gable for really just been doing the deed as of late. It just sucks to kind of see Chad Gable kind of having to kind of be the one to take the pin and be the one to kind of take the short end of the stick with all of this, but it had to be done. But I'll speak more about this in regard to the match. But Brian, what are your thoughts? The Wyatt Six and American Made in this street fight to start the show.
Man, it hurts me to say, man, but I'm disappointed, really. Like, it just, man. So they have a street fight, right, in which they don't even leave ringside. They I guess they did fight outside the ring a lot, but they went nowhere. They stayed at the ring. And then in the end, it wound up kind of being 5-on-4 anyway, because Uncle Howdy got involved.
Right.
I just, man, it's just disappointing. I mean, that's all I can say about it, really. Like, you can't. I don't know how they. And I said it last week, even with Uncle Howdy having the one-on-one match with Gable. Like, you have this street fight, and like you said, is more just like a no DQ. They didn't go off veer anyway interesting backstage, outside, nothing like that. And now you've had this feud to where every one of them, already looks at times beatable. So you introduce them with all, this creepy, very intriguing videos, and people are scared and uncertain and whatever, and you get them in this feud, and already, like, the mystique, the fear factor is gone. So what are they going to? So now, moving on from this feud, like, I don't know where they go. Like, they can't go back to, like, the creepy video types, or maybe they can, but it's not going to be the same, because you've already shown that you're not as powerful and as creepy and as whatever as your video. I don't know, man. It's just, I feel real disappointed. I don't know, man. I expected and hoped a lot more. I know we're still early, and yes, it can still get better, but like mm, everything before like they actually started getting in the ring and fighting was fucking great. And now I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, bro, for sure. It's definitely just a lot. I feel in regards to this feud, not a whole lot has got accomplished. It's just a lot of it's just
Yeah, not
brawl. It's
really.
just everybody just brawling in the ring. Let's send everybody
Yeah,
out there and let's just have everybody brawl. That's American
right.
made, and that's the Wyatt Six. But this match itself, right, Brian?
It
Here's
was
a
a, it was
crazy.
a, it was an entertaining, okay match. Yeah, for
It was
sure.
fine. I mean, nothing
Yeah,
that I haven't seen before. Again, I kind of saw the same exact matchup with Nia Jax and Michin on
right.
SmackDown. This was kind of just the same
Just
match.
had
So
more people.
it's just more people. Because Brian, here's the thing, right? Like the concept street fight, right? Imagine this. This is going to blow people's minds. What if, Brian, what if when we book a street fight, maybe we actually put it in the fucking street?
Mind blown.
Wow.
Mind
Mind
blown.
blown, bro. Who would have thought of that shit? To have it
That's what I'm
in an
saying. Yeah.
actual street, bro, right? Like get some people, right? Get your ducks in a row to have whatever certain city that you can close off a street, right? For maybe an hour, right? New York City does it all the time with their certain events and such, right? And
Yeah.
it's some type of alley in the street in a certain city, right? And just film and cut the
And you
fucking
can
and
have
cut
you
the
had
match.
8 people out there, 9 including Uncle Howdy. Like you can have different people feuding at different locations, fighting.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean,
Or like the
yeah,
corridors. Like maybe do like the corridors to where like it feels more Wyatt-esque, right?
right.
Like that creepy vibe, like that Wyatt-esque vibe. They all
Yep.
just start in the ring just like any other street fight, right? I mean, I don't know how many street fights Triple H has been a part of, but like I'm sure if you're in the streets, you're not just gonna randomly just start grabbing kendo sticks and chairs and fucking trash cans. You're like I don't know. It's just very weird. You're not going to grab a thin piece of fucking wood that's a table. I don't know what this obsession is with wrestling fans and these fucking thin ass tables to where like you got to legit gently, Brian, like a newborn child, place them on the fucking table before it just collapses, right? It's an easily breakable table that we just lose
Right.
our fucking minds over. So yeah, man, it's just like if it's a street fight, bro, take it out the ring, take it to the street. Let's
Yep.
not just do the same exact shit with a street fight all the fucking time to where if you see one street fight, bro, you've seen pretty much all of them. And this was just, it was a no DQ. That's what this match
Yeah.
was, bro. This
Yeah.
wasn't a street fight. It was a no DQ. So yeah, that's my frustration, bro, in regards to it. It's just like take it to the fucking streets. Let's get creative, man. That's not, I'm sorry, especially trying to compete with Monday Night Football, right? Monday Night Football's back, right? You're trying to get people to go back to the USA Network over. Pretty sure you're not going to do that with just another nonsensical, just random brawl and street fight with the Wyatt Six and American Made. Sorry, but
Yeah.
that's not going to cut it. And I'm telling you, if you guys don't believe me, I'm going to bring up this rating later on and fucking prove it to y'all because it's just going to prove my point. And speaking of this, and I'll move on and we're going to get into the Judgment Day, but I have to mention, Brian, and I don't know, and I want to get your thoughts about this too.
Yeah.
And that's the start of the show, right? Like the very start of the show to where you have all of these talents, right? They're dressed up all nice in their suits and they got their shades, they got their suitcases, right? But they do it, Brian, every single fucking week. Do you remember, guys? I don't know, like even AEW Collision has been doing this for a while to where you would start the show off to where maybe there's like 10, 15-second promos to where like they talk about maybe their match and it gets you interested about the match or the segment later on in the night. Bronson Reed running over the Miz with a monster truck, something, bro. I'm constantly seeing people like Cody Rhodes and like all these other people, even on SmackDown, right? They're smiling from ear to ear, right? They got their coffee in their suitcase, right? They're trying to paint the picture like it's, like it's TKO, right? Sports business, they're arriving like they're about to actually compete in a legit sport. So they want to make it more of that type of scenery, but they do it every single week, bro. So where, cool, if you want to do that, I'm fine with it. Not that it's not a cool visual and a good start to the show, but if you do it every week, it's just going to get lackluster and people are just not going to care for it anymore, right? It's just that simple. You know, it's just when WWE, Brian, is affiliated on something, they will shove it down your fucking throat every time, bro. I don't know what you think about that, man. What are your thoughts in regards to it? Just like the scenery, like the start of the show, like, do you feel like it's too much, man? I feel like they just do it way too much. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I would much prefer, you know, and it happened back in my day. Like if you start the show with somebody doing a promo about something that happened last week or whatever. But like, yeah, it's very much in the vein of like your NFL star, you know, getting off the team bus, you know, going into the stadium. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you want to do that for like, maybe there's like a big said title match for that night, right? Like every now and then you have like a big said title match for that show. That would make sense, right? Or like a big main event for like a big pay-per-view. You want to showcase. Sometimes, again, that has a place for it. But it's, Brian, it's every week, bro.
Yeah.
Like every week, I just see the same people. Jade Cargill and Bianca are just arriving to the arena in their cute little freaking suit, or not suits, but like dresses or whatever, their outfits. And then I've seen The Miz with his 5-piece suit, Cody Rhodes with his 5-piece suit, smiling from ear to ear. Hey, Diddlesticks. Hey, Diddlesticks, right? Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
It's so weird, man. I just want to see something different, man. Really get me hooked right from the jump, man. You should be getting me hooked right at the top of the show. Back in the day, you saw a lot of that, to where whether it could be a brawl, right? Some altercations happening in the locker room, right? Or in like a general manager, right? Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce's office. Somebody is arriving to the arena, like a limousine, right? You see like that limousine and it's Vince McMahon or some suit and tie. And they're like, oh, as Jim Ross would say, business just picked up. And now you're like, oh, what's Vince McMahon going to say? What's he going to do? You're fucking hooked, man. That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm screaming for.
Sure.
So again, I just think we can just be doing a lot more instead of just resting on the laurels, right? The laurels to where, oh, something's cool. It's a cool visual. It's working. Let's just do that every single week. So I don't know. Again, some people think it's a nitpick. I don't really think that as such, honestly. I just think it's, for WWE, it's just, you know, being lazy and just doing the same thing, honestly. So, but let's move on to the Judgment Day. I've spoken enough about that. Let's move on to the Judgment Day. You had Finn Balor cut a promo calling out Damian Priest. He issues a challenge for Bad Blood. Damian Priest comes out, accepts the challenge, and then Damian Priest is like, all right, let me do what I came out here to do, which is beat your ass. And then Finn Balor's like, whoa, before you do that, but it's like you forgot the rule in the Judgment Day playbook or something that Finn Balor said. And Damian Priest said something like, oh, I wrote the book, or I wrote the rule book or whatever. And this was awkward, right? It took JD McDonough and Carlito like several seconds to get to the ring. So there was like this short, very long pause to where like Damian Priest, I don't know if that line was in the script for Damian Priest to say it, because it was like, it took forever for Carlito and JD McDonough to get to the ring. So I thought that maybe there was mistiming there. But either way, all the heels come into the ring. Rhea Ripley comes in on one leg, trying to do something to help Damian Priest out. Liv Morgan comes out. She gets the crutch right to her abdomen, right to her gut. But either way, the heels ended up, getting the upper hand, leaving Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley laying. Jey Uso comes out and with a steel chair, and the heels are like, all right, the damage has been done. Let's get out of here, as they walk up the rampway. And that was pretty much your segment. There was also singles matchups as well. You had Dominic Mysterio and Dragon Lee. Dominic Mysterio defeated Dragon Lee thanks to a little assistance from Liv Morgan. Finn Balor was also in a match with Rey Mysterio after a backstage segment. I think just shortly after that segment, Rey Mysterio got to the ropes. Finn Balor didn't break the hold, called the disqualification, and then Rey Mysterio was left laying, and Finn Balor and the rest of the Judgment Day stood tall. So at least, again, you saw this group, the heels, right, look dominant. And that's also, again, I appreciate that. that you don't want to always make this tandem look like the cowardly heels all the time, right? So I appreciate that in that aspect. Was there anything spectacular or good or great? Debatable, to each their own, I guess. I mean, it was okay. They've been consistent, Brian, but nothing has truly, outside of maybe a segment here or there since SummerSlam, that's truly like wowed me. Like that was pretty darn good.
Right.
So as well as 2 matches have been announced now for Bad Blood, which we all kind of expected, right? You have a rematch between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley for the women's championship, women's world championship, as well as you have Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Both matches will be happening in Atlanta, Georgia, at Bad Blood. Brian, I'll have you start. What are your thoughts in regards to the segment with Finn Balor and Priest, as well as any of these matches that happened later on in the night?
Yeah, I mean, it was all kind of all right. I don't have any issue with any of it. I mean, mainly I'm just, looking forward to the matches at Bad Blood. But, for the weekly shows, the Raws, for until then, like, man, I'm just really I'm so ready for Judgment Day. Like, yes, they still have the Rhea and the Damien thing they gotta, handle, and that's good. I like that. I like what's happening there.
Mm-hmm.
But to still have Rey Mysterio and the LWO as they, Dom, who did Dom fight?
Dragon Lee.
Dragon Lee.
Yep.
I mean, that I'm just read like every single week. Like, I mean, and I get it. Like, Rey is actually Dom's father, but I mean, this shit has been like, what, 2 years now? How long? I mean, not
Pretty
just them
much.
feuding, but their whole, back when they were a team and whatever. I mean,
Yeah, about a little over 2
and now
years.
Finn's, yeah, I mean, and Finn has to fight him, and then JD has to fight him, and then that's the drawback for me. Is just we're still here with the LWO and Rey Mysterio, still in this thing with Dom, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? I mean, again, it's okay, right? I'm not gonna
Yeah, right,
completely
yeah,
bash it because again, they are the heels. I have mentioned like you got to make them look dominant, but again,
right,
I keep saying about this show, man, I just feel like you see it constantly, right? Like the heels, they run to the ring, right? They beat down the faces, and whether maybe it's vice versa, to where the faces stand tall, the heels retreat, or the heels beat up the faces and the heels stand tall. And I feel like we're just doing the same thing in the same exact scenario every single week, which is why I praised when they were in the concession stand, right? When it was Priest and Dominic, Liv Morgan and Rhea, they were brawling through the concession stand. Liv Morgan was hightailing it through the concession stands, and that wasn't even
right.
shown on that wasn't even shown on television. That was on social media. I'm like, why isn't that
Yeah,
on television, bro? And you can draw that out for like several minutes, right? And really get people like
segments. Like, I mean,
segments, exactly
commercial
right.
break and come back. Yeah,
Commercial
yeah.
break, you come back and Liv Morgan's still hightailing it. She's trying to escort herself out of the fucking arena into the parking lot, trying to maybe find a getaway vehicle or something, right? Maybe you like go to a hotel room, right? And it's like Dominic and like Liv, they're having like some what time or whatever, and it's like Rhea Ripley like invades it. Like that's fun. That's a memorable, fun fucking segment. God for fucking bid, Brian. We do that and we get creative, but again, this
Yeah.
company just doesn't fucking want to. And like I said, they've done it with Bronson Reed, so that they can, right? I always say that they know how to put on entertaining segments, but for
Sure.
some,
Yeah.
they don't want to. They don't want to put that extra effort in. They want to coast. They want to rest on laurels. That's all they fucking want to do. So yeah, the Judgment Day, to where after SummerSlam, it really started off good, like the turn and everything from SummerSlam, and now it's just like, okay, now we gotta kick things into high gear. Like now we gotta change things up.
Yeah.
Now we really gotta get creative here. We only got 3 more weeks left of Bad Blood. We gotta pick things up a bit. As far as Bad Blood goes, and I'll end it with this.
I do gotta say this. It does seem like at least a little bit in the past couple weeks, which are like that Finn is once again kind of like assuming control of the Judgment Day, you know.
Yes. Now,
Even
Finn,
though they
yeah.
say it's a team, and you know, it is highlighting Finn, which uh, I
I do.
love
Yeah.
Finn, man. I mean,
Finn's
so
great.
yeah,
Finn's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, no, I love Finn, man. Seriously. No, yeah, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, to where they say like no leaders, no egos, but it's Finn Balor that's like the main
right,
focal point of the group, as he should be. And the promo that he cut was fine on Priest. I just thought the
yeah,
ending part of the segment was awkward because it looked like that Carlito and JD were just late to their spot, and there was this awkward pause for like several seconds to where Damian Priest maybe had to like cut a line that maybe wasn't on script to kind of maybe draw out the segment a bit. Is like, oh, it's like you forgot the Judgment Day playbook, and then like Damian Priest like, I wrote the playbook, and that was just like very abrupt, and they like waited for like a couple seconds. It felt like longer than that, but then finally finally Carlito and JD get to the ring. Listen, if you guys are trying to rob a bank or maybe trying to do something along, don't ask for Carlito and JD McDonough to be your getaway vehicle. I just wouldn't advise that because
yeah.
they ain't gonna be on time for their assignment. But all seriousness, and who knows with Bad Blood. I've mentioned about Liv and Rhea, and again, whether I want it or not, I do feel like Liv is, as of right now, I feel like Liv is going to win this match because they got their victory on the mixed tag match. And I think that Liv will, as of now, I mean, we'll see how I think about this over the next several weeks. But as of right now, I'm thinking Liv is going to win this match. And if Liv is going to win this match, then you would think that Finn Balor is also going to probably win his match as well. Or maybe they kind of do some extracurricular activity to where people stay face. Who knows? But after what happened at Bash in the mixed tag, you would think now at Bad Blood, Liv Morgan now gets the ultimate victory. Because I've even said it too, like even with Rhea, and Brian, you mentioned it before, like, you know, it would come full circle for Rhea to get back that title, you know, after Liv saying, hey, I'm going to take everything away from you. And now she takes back her title. But I don't feel like Rhea really needs that championship. I truly don't. I think Liv right now needs that title more than Rhea Ripley, because Liv Morgan's going to lose that championship. Rhea's already this top star. Now she's holding on to the title. Now what about Liv? And what about her heel
Right.
character going forward? So I think just what makes more sense is you have Liv Morgan win this match. At least that's just how I feel right now. But what are your thoughts, man, in regards to about these two matches before we go to the next segment?
I guess I'm split on it because I think Rhea is going to win at Bad Blood, but I do think Finn will win at Bad Blood too.
I do
I
feel
think for
Finn.
Rhea,
I'm on you with Finn. Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, I think Finn will win that, but with Rhea, um, not that it's not that I think she needs the title, you know, to be in a good story or relevant or whatever, but I
Yeah.
think if her coming back, the story that's been told to this point with Liv taking everything, you know, Dom to the title to all of Judgment Day, and especially that this pay-per-view it's called Bad Blood. Like, I don't think Rhea can lose this match, and I don't know how to put it. I don't know quite how to put it in words. Like, I think this feud and everything that's happened has solidified. You could make the argument that maybe Liv could hold on to it for a little longer, but I think it solidified her as a top heel and a star in the company. So I think she'd be fine losing it, and it wouldn't affect her that much. Where I
Oh
think
yeah.
if
No, I
Rhea
don't. Yeah.
loses this at Bad Blood and can't beat and get back the title,
Yeah.
because everything else, like, she doesn't want Dom back. She's not going to get Dom back. She's not going back to the Judgment Day. So
Mm-mm.
the only thing else left to get is the title.
Right. Yeah. I
So
don't think. I
that's
don't
just
think
kind of how
Liv.
I'm breaking it down.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
Liv, even if Liv were to lose, I don't think she's going to lose anything from the match per
No.
se. I'm just looking at what she's going to be doing, you know, moving forward, right? Like, what is she going to be
I think you
doing?
could do all kinds of, like, if she's going to stick with Dom going forward, if that's going to be a thing, I think you could do all kinds of things with them.
Possibly. Again, I wouldn't. It would depend on, and I mentioned this like not too long ago, probably last week. It would depend on how the match is booked. It would depend on what the trajectory is. And again, there's still more. There's still 3 more weeks left to
Yeah,
see what they tell in regards to it. But yeah, so I just think that Liv Morgan, there's still so much with Liv Morgan in that championship that you can do.
sure,
That Rhea Ripley that truly just doesn't need around her waist right now. Like Rhea Ripley is arguably, if you want to make the argument, the top female wrestler in the company right now. Yeah, sure, there's people like Bianca Belair and others, but it's Rhea Ripley that's at the top of the totem pole. And of course,
sure,
Becky Lynch, and who knows with Becky Lynch, she still needs to sign a freaking contract. Who knows when that's there's an offer that's been on the table for Becky, but it hasn't been agreed to. So who knows with Becky? But so yeah, we'll see in regards to it. But how I'm looking at it after the Bash in Berlin match, they got the victory at Bash in Berlin, and I feel like now it's going to be the heels that are going to get this victory at
sure.
Bad Blood.
Yeah,
That
for sure.
possibly could work. And again, I just think it would benefit Liv, because for Liv, I think she still has more to offer as the champion. I just think that as the top champion on that said brand, rather than Rhea Ripley, who's already the top female wrestler in the industry already, without the championship or not, she's going to be fine because WWE obviously has all the investment in her. And yeah, maybe they do have it in Liv, but yes, and like you said, you could do some cool stuff with Dom, but like we say about this company a lot too, is it just going to be a lot of redundant shit? Or are they just going to kind of just be kind of just there, kind of doing the same thing and kind of just fussling around with, I don't know, Selena Vega, right? Or fucking like Natalia, like who knows? That could possibly happen. So who knows in regards to it, but I guess we'll find out coming up at Bad Blood.
If they do it right, if seriously, if they do it right and they decide to keep Liv and Dom together,
yeah,
not that I'm saying I can put it that they're up here. They'd have to do a lot, but like a Macho Man and Sherry, two, where. But Liv obviously wrestles much more than Sherry did, although she was a wrestler. But
yeah,
a pairing like that, you can do it. It doesn't matter what feud you go in with, with those two. Like, if you have something like that, I think that works with damn near anybody.
yeah. No, it's a good. No, they're a good pairing, man. They are a good pairing, and it definitely can work if you book it properly. That's for sure. But you know me, Brian. I don't trust this company.
Yeah.
I don't.
Sure.
Well, listen, you could go to USA Network, to Netflix, bro. I got to see it to believe it. But you're absolutely right. It definitely can work. And again, I don't think the loss, even if Liv were to lose this match, depending on, again, how it's booked, I don't think it would do any harm to Liv Morgan. But again, when it comes to this company, sometimes, man, I'm just on eggshells, and I'll believe it when I see it in regards to how it's being done. But let's move on, man. Let's move on to a legend that made an appearance on Monday Night Raw, and that is Bret the Hitman
The best
Hart.
there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
That's absolutely right, bro. Bret Hart. I think it's been, how long has it been since Bret Hart has been on WWE TV? I think it's been several years now. Didn't he make an appearance in AEW before? Am I thinking of somebody else? I have no idea. I thought he maybe
I don't know. He might have. Because they've gone to Canada plenty, so he might have. Yeah, I don't know.
I say he might have done like one appearance in AEW. I have to do further research about that, but he's back on WWE television. I believe he has signed a legend. There's a lot of Legends deals being signed from WWE. You got people like Hulk Hogan, who's on a 5-year Legends deal. Jacqueline, Jesse Ventura, not too long ago, was on a Legends deal. Already, The Undertaker has been on a Legends deal. This company's on a legend spree, right? They're on this spree of signing all these legends, and Bret Hart, I believe, is one of them. So he makes this. So he comes down the ring, and he still has like that Brian, right? When Bret Hart talks, like that persona of him, like when he still talks, even though he's older, right? He still has that, that voice and that delivery in his voice. It still brings back good nostalgia, I'm sure, for still Bret Hart, man. Absolutely. So he says a few words, of course, being in Calgary in Canada. As then Gunther, that's right, Gunther hits the ring. There was rumors that Gunther was going to be in this segment with Bret Hart, which makes sense, right? And I'll kind of get more further into it. So Gunther, and this was pretty much the highlight of this entire show, at least for me. As Gunther's in the ring and he talks to Bret Hart, he's like, you know what, Bret, you're really, he praises him, right? He gives him his kudos, like, but you're probably my second favorite, but my favorite has to go to none other than Bill Goldberg. And Brian,
Dude,
it's not
I
even
literally damn near choked on what I was drinking, man. Because
my God,
for whatever reason, I didn't see it coming. Because I thought he was going to be more serious and maybe say like a HBK. But when he said Goldberg, oh my God.
Oh my God, it was great. It is not even what he said, it's how he said it. Like the way it was building up. He's like, yeah, you're my second favorite wrestler of all time, but the one above you, my favorite wrestler, is none other than Bill Goldberg. And he emphasizes Bill Goldberg. If you guys don't know, of course, I'm sure most of you know the history with Goldberg and Bret Hart. I believe this was 1999 WCW Starrcade. Where they had a match, and there was a moment in the match.
Last match.
Yes, pretty much, yeah. And it was pretty much the botch, the kick botch that pretty much gave Bret Hart a concussion. I believe he had a stroke because of that too, if I'm not mistaken, because of it. At least later on, not in WWE or in his wrestling career, but just in his personal personal life. I believe he developed a stroke because of that. It was a very severe concussion that ended his career. And for so long, Bret Hart has always been very hostile and very bitter towards Goldberg. And listen, to a degree, I don't blame the dude. Yeah.
I
really don't. Yeah.
For the kind of guy that Bret Hart was and where he came from and what wrestling meant to him and his family. Yeah, for sure. I get it.
But here's what I loved about this, right? And we'll get to Sami Zayn, right? Spoiler alert. Of course, Sami Zayn was a part of this segment as well. But man, Gunther, man, this is how Gunther should be portrayed, right? As this douche of a villain, right? Like the arrogance, right, of him to bring up a guy that ended his career that he can't stand in Bill Goldberg, right? The same dude who was so arrogant calling Damian Priest street trash, telling Randy Orton that your family are a bunch of screw-ups, your father, your grandfather, you're the biggest screw-up of them all. That's Gunther, right? He drinks his own Kool-Aid. He believes in his own shit. He knows he's that fucking dude, and he's gonna tell it. He's gonna tell you how fucking good he is, and he's gonna call you out, and he's gonna troll you while you do it, right? Like that's Gunther, bro, and that's why, Brian, and we spoke about this before we started, why I didn't get the fucking handshake. I didn't get it with Randy Orton and Gunther. It made no sense for this dude, after calling this dude screw ups and your father's a failure, you're the biggest failure of them all. Not even 2 weeks later, he's shaking his hand because I respect you as a wrestler. Forget everything about I said you personally. I'm going to shake your hand because I like you as a pro wrestler. The fuck? That's not Gunther. That's just, it's not even, not only is it's hurting Randy Orton because it makes him look like the schmuck, but it's also affecting Gunther's character. That's not Gunther. This is Gunther, what you got this past Monday, right? And I love what they're doing with Gunther, and I hope that continues going forward. That was just so good, man. Just so fucking damn good. Just the way he said it. And just the look on Bret's face too. I thought that was kind of funny as well afterwards. But later on in this segment, you had Sami Zayn come out, and, he's of course in the defense of Bret Hart, obviously, mentioning, like he mentioned a couple weeks ago, right, all the legends that were IC champions, and then they later on moved on to the World Heavyweight Championship, right? And Bret Hart was one of those names, so obviously it makes sense for Bret Hart to be in this segment. So once again, Sami Zayn is, he wants that world title. He wants this matchup with Gunther. And once again, Gunther says, my answer to you is no. Like, he even goes to Bret Hart, you're not in my league. Sami Zayn, you're not in my league. My answer is no. And he walks off. Bret Hart calls him a coward. He's like, I don't see a champion. I see a coward. And then Gunther kind of stops like right below the rampway. A brawl ends up scooting between the two. Sami Zayn ends up getting the upper hand. Gunther ends up hightailing it. And then Sami Zayn and Bret had a nice little moment, for the Canadian crowd, and they stand tall side by side, and that was pretty much the segment. Brian, floor is yours, bro. What do you think? Gunther, Bret Hart, Sami Zayn in this entire segment. What do you think?
Man, if I could take a few minutes, for any of the younger audience that really, hasn't watched Bret Hart, doesn't know much about him, whatever, like, you hear about all the greats, right? And, sure, you could throw out an HBK who, for my personal opinion, yeah, like HBK was a guy who created more spectacular moments, right? Bret Hart, dude, whether from his time in the Hart Foundation as tag team champions, when he was the IC title, the World Heavyweight Champion, all the way to his final run in WWE when he had kind of the new Hart Foundation. There, and I even put Ric Flair in this, there is nobody I've ever seen bell to bell every time. It doesn't matter if you're a heel, you're a face. You could wrestle a power style match. You could be a technician. You
Yeah,
could be kind of a speed type guy. You
right.
could use the top rope. You could, all these things, man. Bret Hart was that dude, like, and made it look so smooth. Like, Stone Cold is going to always be my favorite. And Ric Flair's up there and HBK. But I'm telling you, man, bell to bell, no matter what kind of character or whatever you put him in, he was believable. Like Bret Hart is underrated, I think, in that way. And maybe the WCW his time over there has something to do with it, but like, man, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. Tag, singles, that dude was the man. He really was. But yeah, it was great to see him. Great segment. Dude, the comment from Gunther, I mean, that was awesome. And yeah, and we're gonna get the Sammy and Gunther match, in which I mean I think this time Gunther's gonna win, as I think he should. You can debate on whether we either want to see a Sammy title match here. There was something about last year, that was organic about Sammy, and possibly winning that title from Roman. And I thought maybe it possibly could happen. But now I think like this isn't organic. Now you're trying to force it. And so I think Gunter's gonna, eventually when they have the match, Gunter's gonna retain, as I think he should. And yeah, I don't know what Sammy does after that, but I mean, if he's going to be part of the bloodline again, maybe, who knows? But I love what Gunter's doing. It was great to see Bret Hart. And yeah, that was a pretty cool segment. I liked it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And very well said about Bret Hart too. There's so many,
Dude, so smooth,
fans.
man. Like,
I couldn't agree more. Trust me. I've I've gone back and watched, matches with Shawn Michaels and, you name it, with so many different people, especially Shawn Michaels. Cause I mean, those
yeah,
two, when you think of Bret Hart and you think of another person, a rival, you think of Shawn Michaels. So definitely, no doubt. It's just, it's a shame with certain wrestling fans, Brian, at least like today, and I've seen so many people like wrestlers today that they see this new style of wrestling, but they don't realize how good some of these people back in the day truly were, right? I
just
mean, I hear
yeah,
people like Ultimate Warrior, right? People like Ultimate Warrior, and I get it. He's nowhere near the wrestler. I mean, obviously we can all agree to that. Like, he's nowhere near the wrestler of a Bret Hart. But like, that dude was a character, man. Like, that dude was
sure,
polarizing. And for so many fans to like just disrespect the dude like he's a schmuck, right? Like, he can't, like, he's worth nothing in the industry. Like, these wrestlers today, all they knew is like the Ricochets and the Mustafa Alis and this and this and that. But like the Ultimate Warriors, the Bret Harts, right? That people just for some reason just shit on, right? Not all of them, but just like a majority of certain wrestling fans that just never really saw these two, back in that era, right? And don't realize how good these two were and how much they've paved the way, especially for somebody like Bret, who, like you said, one of arguably the best in-ring workers during his time.
I would put him in ring, bell to bell, better than Sean, better than Rick. Yeah.
And even
sure.
like, honestly, like the way he talks on the microphone too, like I've heard him even talk on the microphone. Like some people don't mention a lot about his mic skills.
He's underrated. Yeah.
He's an underrated talent, man, you know, not just in every aspect of his game. So much love to Bret Hart. You know, it's always at least good to, you know, to see Bret Hart back on WWE television, and who knows, you know, what he does after this and what he gets involved into next. But like you said, and we've said it earlier about Gunther and that line about Goldberg, just so fucking good, man. It was so good.
Yeah.
That's how we need to portray Gunther, bro. Make fans like hate this dude. Like, oh my God, like he would say that. Like, I can't believe he would say that to Bret. Like, talk about Bill Goldberg. Like, he's such a prick. He's such a freaking just this bastard, right? No pun intended to Pac, the bastard over in AEW. But like that's what we need to be doing more, man. That's why I ranted and raved about Gunther. Like, that's just blurring the lines, and that's just not helping the aura and the mystique of Gunther's character. Gunther's character is that he's the ring general. He beats you up. He's going to tell you how great he is. He's going to prove it to you. And then he's going to insult you and his family and whatever else afterwards, right? That's fucking Gunther. That's how you keep doing that with Gunther. Loved it, man. And like we said with Sami Zayn, I mean, obviously we're eventually going to get this matchup with Sami Zayn, probably at Bad Blood as well. And obviously Sami Zayn is going to take the pinfall in this match. Ain't no way, of course, Gunther's going to lose. This is going to continue to pump up Gunther. You know, obviously, of course, would I like there to be another set opponent for Gunther and not having another match with Sami Zayn since we already saw it at SummerSlam? Sure. But again, the story being told, and
I don't mind it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the more, you know, I've thought about it from when Sami Zayn first, you know, interrupted Gunther from last week. And that's kind of the reason why Bret Hart was in this segment, because he mentioned like, hey, I was the IC champion. You know, now that I lost that championship, and then I go back to previous champions like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Macho Man Randy Savage, Bret Hart, which is why Bret Hart was in this segment, going from the IC title to the world title. So the realism of Sami Zayn's promo and why he's in the position that he's in makes sense. So that's why I don't mind this at all. I don't mind the matchup. And obviously they're going to put on another really good, solid match. And, you know, we'll see where Gunther goes from there. We heard rumors that it's going to be Punk and Gunther at Survivor Series. We'll see in regards to it. And speaking of Punk, let's get into a little bit of CM Punk, as well as Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, this was the third hour of Monday Night Raw. He comes out talking about the beatdown from last week onto CM Punk. And, you know, he was talking about CM Punk, right? He comes out here, right? He thinks that he's just because he can touch all four corners of the ring and beat me in a strap match, thinks that he's done with me. Yeah, not by a long shot. No, this is far from over. And then he goes over to Wade Barrett. And they're friends in real life, like long-term friends in real life. Yeah. And, you know, he's kind of really frustrated and disappointed of Wade Barrett, of why he's been getting in his way and getting his hands on CM Punk. Like, we've been friends for years, right? We've been to jail together. We've been through hell and back together. And you constantly continue to get in my way in regards to my business with Punk, and just showing his frustration with Wade Barrett. And they had like this intense stare off from the commentary table on the outside. Adam Pearce then comes out, says that he's spoken with CM Punk. He kind of interrupts things between Barrett and Drew McIntyre. And he says, I've spoken to CM Punk. And he's like, listen, he's also not done with you. And that's where he issues the challenge. He issues the matchup for Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk at Bad Blood inside, wait for it, Brian, Hell in a Cell. My best Vince McMahon impression. There you go. That's right. Hell in a Cell. As the
only way you can end this feud. Yeah,
exactly right. Hell in a Cell for Bad Blood, which is going to be the main event of that said show. It is confirmed that it is the main event, which I love that. It's honestly, for Monday Night Raw, the best feud on Monday Night Raw, and arguably the best feud in WWE this calendar year. So really like the fact that it's going to be main eventing the show, and we'll see how this match unfolds. So that was kind of putting the stamp on it. Punk and Drew at Bad Blood. We still got 3 more weeks left. I'm sure Punk is definitely going to make his return, maybe next week. Who knows? And we'll see where it goes. Brian, what are your thoughts, man? Punk, Drew, Hell in a Cell. It's official. What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that match. You know, I, I mean, I thought it was over too until, you know, last week or whatever. You know, I don't mind. I'd be, if that was it, I would have been okay with that. But sure, Hell in a Cell. I mean, I'll take that with this feud that they've had all year. Absolutely. Um, the segment was fine. I mean, Adam Pierce. I don't know, man. He just. Well, first of all, isn't it kind of weird for like the GM? It's almost like when he came out there, like you're supposed to be the GM of Raw. Like this isn't like you're not playing for one team or the other, but he was kind of like acting like a fanboy for CM Punk, and I don't know, that just was kind of weird. Um, I don't know. And what do you think about this? Do you think that we might see Wade Barrett back in the ring? Did he?
I mean,
Did he? Was he in the Royal Rumble? Did he come out in the Royal Rumble this year?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
No.
Not to my knowledge. No. But I don't know.
I
I mean,
feel like
at least
I felt like I saw him come out for something in a match. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I have to
But
maybe
I
go
thought
back.
that was
Maybe I'm
just that
wrong
was like
too.
weird and random why he went over it, unless I mean unless he's really going to kind of get involved in the storyline. That was just kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, for weeks now, like you've seen Wade Barrett kind of like try to control and calm down
Right,
Drew
right.
McIntyre. Like he's been throwing these fits because Punk has now cost him the world title 3 times now, and you've seen it at
Yeah.
Money in the Bank. You saw it at Clash at the Castle. So Wade Barrett has been along this journey, whether how
Right.
in depth he's been a part of it, but I don't
I
know. I
just
think
wonder
you're
if it's leading to something to him coming back in the ring, man. I
I
don't
do.
know.
I don't know, but I would love to see Wade Barrett be involved in a little bit of this more because he has been in a small margin. He has been a part of this in regards to Drew McIntyre and him being
Yeah,
suspended and
yeah.
these outbursts that he's been a part of. So it would make sense to, at least for the time being, until maybe like CM Punk comes back, and maybe even when CM Punk comes back, you still involve Wade Barrett. Maybe not have him wrestle. I don't know if the plan is to have him wrestle, but to still have him a part of this story, to kind of play
Yeah.
a part. Like, listen, I ain't got many friends in this industry anymore. You've been one of my closest friends for so many years. So, and again, he's been alongside him with all the outbursts and the outrage. So it would make sense to kind of at least prolong or tell some type of a story with Wade Barrett and Drew
Yeah.
McIntyre. But yeah, because like if that was just for like a 1 week thing, to be, and then kind of like going back to also doing the same thing with Wade Barrett after that, yeah, that would definitely be kind of weird, for
Right.
sure. But we'll see in regards to it. I do think Wade Barrett would be an interesting, a good added layer depending on how they do
Yeah.
it.
And I don't know
Um,
what his health, is or whatever, if he even can get back in the ring. I don't know.
me
I'm
neither. No,
just
I would
with
have
the
to.
involvement that he has been, and then Drew confronting him directly, it just seems like it's building to something.
You would think, right? Like I said, we mentioned again, Money in the Bank, Clash at the Castle, all of these events that he has been sticking or getting involved in Drew McIntyre's business, as Drew was
Yeah.
pronouncing it. So who knows? But again, the statement stays, man. Like this feud has really been the most consistent out of a lot of other
Sure.
storylines in this company. Yes, it's not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but, and I've spoken about that about Money in the Bank. We didn't do a review show for Money in the Bank, but I've spoken about that on socials and everywhere. So you guys know, most of you guys, I'm sure, know where I stand on that. But it's been consistent, bro. It's been really truly consistent. Punk and Drew, again, the strap match was so well done. And
Yeah.
and with this Hell in the Cell match, man, I'm not going to expect anything less. I expect this to be a good cultivating moment and an ending to the
Oh
story.
yeah. They're
And
gonna tear the house down with that match, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'm sure probably with Punk being rumored that he's going to be going after the world title for Survivor Series, he's probably going to be the one that wins this match,
Yeah.
and kind of ends this feud with Drew. Again, does that, And who know? And Brian, again, I'm just maybe fantasy booking here, but we just spoke about Wade Barrett. What if you were to have Wade Barrett, and again, we don't know what his health is, and again, I'm not predicting anything, but if Wade Barrett is cleared and he could wrestle, what if Wade Barrett maybe starts something with Drew McIntyre after this is all said and done? Maybe he's the reason why Punk wins the match at Hell in a Cell. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, and it's off the top of my head. So who knows?
Because I definitely think Punk's winning. I mean, because this is his first real feud back, so he's got to win his first feud, which I'm fine with that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if if it's because of any interference or anything.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I do hope that Barrett, whether he does wrestle or not, does continue to become, maybe not like the third wheel like a Seth Rollins would be, but definitely like a part of this strike. Thank God we got past SummerSlam, and thankfully it didn't go off the rails the way we thought it was going to. As that was done very well, at least for what it was. But yeah, Wade Barrett playing a part in this, depending on how they do it, I don't see why not. Again, it depends on how they do it, but I wouldn't mind it for sure in regards to it. Again, the stare off, it does make you question yourself a little bit. So we'll see in regards to it. Let's move on, man. Let's move on to our final topic of the show. That was the main event. Main event was a fatal 4-way match. This was to determine the number one contender for Braun Breaker's Intercontinental Championship. You had main event Jey Uso. You had Ilya Dragunov, Pete Dunne, and a one big son of a bitch, as Pat McAfee would say, and that's Braun Strowman. Of course, Jey Uso would win this matchup, and as he goes to the top rope, hits the Uso splash to Pete Dunne, you kind of knew it was either going to be Ilya Dragunov or Pete Dunne that was going to get the short end of the stick and take the pinfall. It was Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne takes the pinfall from the Uso splash, and Jey Uso, as we pretty much already kind of knew, he is now the number one contender for this IC championship. As there was like little backstage segments of Braun Breaker going to each said talent with, I think,
that was pretty good. I like that. I mean, Braun's
but the thing is, though,
little snippets, I liked it.
But the thing is, though, they did still kind of gave it away over the last several weeks with Jey Uso and Braun, like the whole hey, I like a member of my family isn't afraid to go up against one of yours or something like that, like family versus family thing. So that they had that set in stone. Like you mentioned to me, Brian, last week, like, do you think that somebody like Ilya Dragunov could potentially win this match? I'm like, no, absolutely not, because they've already showed their cards, right, with Jey Uso and Braun. So like, why couldn't we just been telling this story from the jump? Like the segments like a couple weeks ago I mentioned, bro, that was so good. Jey Uso was the Jey Uso that I grew up with, the Usos with his brother, like amplified and serious. That was so damn good. And you got a glimpse of that instead of just being in this goofy dancing shtick and the yeet stuff, to where, yes, it's got a place, but if that's just all you're doing, it's just going to become redundant. And it's just like you kind of just maybe not like look like a clown, but kind of just look goofy. If that's just all you're doing. But yeah, I mean, Braun Breaker's going to win this match. Ain't no way he's losing this title this soon. There's no way. This is his first big title defense, I believe, since he's won the IC championship. He defended it against Sami Zayn in a rematch. So this will be technically his second.
Right.
So yeah, we go off the air, Brian, with once again for like the second week in a row, and that's Jey Uso yeeting. We go off the air, man. Guys, we got to do a better job with cliffhangers, with something to go off the air, because this ain't it. If you're trying to compete with Monday Night Football, at least for the rest of this calendar year, bro, you got to do better than Jey Uso.
So is that the law? Is that the last thing? Because I don't know if it cut off before you. So I mean, Braun did come out there, and it was just a stare down. Nothing happened.
Yeah, he gets into the ring. It was just a stare down, and that was it.
Yeah,
It was just
yeah,
like it was just like the little stare, and that was it. Like there was like
yeah,
obviously Jay was yeeting, and the stare down. That's it. I mean, you didn't really miss much. But
yeah.
yes, you're right. Braun Breaker was out there, but again, that's it. There's no other cliffhanger, no nothing. It's just Jay Uso winning the match, as we all knew. We could have been telling a story by now and kicking things into high gear like segments a couple weeks ago. And that's it, right? And listen, James, I know people say like, James, you're so harsh, right? Like, the show was fun. Why aren't you more positive? This and that. Well, guys, listen, I mentioned Gunther, right? Really good stuff. Drew and Punk, really good stuff. I think the Hell in a Cell match is going to be great. I think it's going to have a really good ending to it because both of those dudes have played their part. But guys, I can't ignore the majority of the show and how it's filler. I mentioned about USA Network going to 2 hours. They need to trim the fat, which is that third hour, because with people like Pure Fusion Collective, with people like Damage Control, this women's tag division, the New Day, and many others, it is nothing but filler, right? Nothing. And to prove it to you, and before I get to you, Brian, because I know you have your thoughts, I want to talk about this rating. Guys, Monday Night Raw's rating, and this is what I was afraid of, Brian, to where they dropped down. They were at a 1.6 million, and now they dropped down already to a 1.4 within the span of 1 week, already week 1 into football season, right? And then here come the excuses. James, it's football season. Cut them some slack. Do this, do that. Guys, that does not mean because it's football season that WWE can't put their best foot forward, right? Monday Night Football, right, Brian? I'll give you a great example. The Jets and the 49ers, right? Now, listen, I'm a New York Jets fan, right? So I was sticking through it regardless, right? I did not watch Monday Night Raw because I'm a Jets fan. Unless you're a Jet fan or a 49ers fan, right? There's a good chance that you're kind of maybe flicking through channels, right? To maybe see what's going on. Big Bang Theory, Seinfeld, The Office, whatever. If you're a wrestling fan, maybe I want to tune into Raw because I want to see what the Judgment Day are doing. I want to see what Pure Fusion Collective is doing. Guys, the numbers are telling you that nobody's fucking doing that. They are losing viewers because nobody has a fear in missing out. That's not football. That's not presidential debates. That's not holidays. That's just the company not putting their best foot forward, period. The game started at 8:20, right? At the top of the show, that is a perfect time to captivate your audience to, yes, they're going to go over and watch Monday Night Football, but give them a reason to go back to the USA Network. Brian, the numbers are showing you that they're not even doing that. And I'm sick and tired of the fucking excuse, right? They were at a 1.6, 1.7, maybe 1.8. And now because of it, right, with football season, you got to give. And this is why I emphasize so much about SummerSlam, right? Having good momentum towards SummerSlam. You're not getting that from SmackDown. Lately, as of late with Monday Night Raw, you haven't gotten that. It's been very lackluster. It's been inconsistent. And now because of it, you only get one shot at a first impression with a lot of new fans coming in. And now you're paying the price for it. USA Network is once again paying the price for it. And you wonder why USA Network said, toodles to Monday Night Raw. And I'm going to leave it at that, Brian. I know that's a lot. But at least for the main event's sake, what are your thoughts, Jey Uso getting his title match against Braun Breaker, potentially for Bad Blood?
Yeah, my initial thought, man, is like really, I kind of wish Jay wasn't even in this picture because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think Braun should lose right now, but I don't think Jay can afford to take a big L like that either. And you still have, you're always going to have the bloodline story on the back burner, and you've also been inserting him in with Damian and Rhea. So yeah, I just don't know. I don't know what you're doing with Jay. Like, where is he going? Are you trying still to make him a single star? Are you just biding time for the bloodline? Are you putting him with Damian and Rhea? And I don't know if you've heard, but I mean it's and again, I don't know if it's a work, but I mean I could imagine there's some awkwardness and some tension maybe at times, but if you've heard Rikishi on his podcast speak out about how he wasn't really
yes
happy with like a possible romantic angle.
Yeah.
Which I mean, look, people are different. I mean, Naomi is his wife. Or no, is that Jimmy? I'm sorry.
No, it's just Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy and Naomi.
That's
Trinity
Jimmy.
Fatu.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Is Jay? Yeah. Well, Jay's married.
Yes, I believe. Yes, I believe
Yeah.
so. Yeah, he has kids. He has 2
Right.
kids. So yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's any realism to that, but I imagine there could be. In which case, if that's true, and maybe people are taking that to heed, are they gonna then pull Jay away from that and maybe give him the IC title? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, ultimately I would just prefer Jay not to really be in this spot because again, I don't think he can take an L, but
Yeah.
I don't think Braun should be taking the L either. So I don't know, man. And as far as the match, I mean the 4-way, like it's your 4-way. Honestly, with the 4 people in there, and I know we've already seen the matches and whatever, but I'd still take Ilya if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, if Ilya was booked better and he didn't fight Braun Breaker already several times, I would definitely,
Right.
I would definitely look into. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean with the Jey Uso thing, yeah, no, I definitely hear what you're saying in regards to that because, like, I think we know, at least we think that we know that the long-term plan is that he's going to be back with the Bloodline, feuding with the Bloodline
Right.
during when The Rock is being rumored to be back in the next 2 months. This is even before Netflix. So who knows?
Right.
Again, it's not confirmed. It's just something that's out there. So you would think like 2 months, right? That's for, with USA Network maybe being on 2 hours, they can, add in some stuff for that 2-hour show, cut out the fat, trim the fat. That's all this filler, and maybe add in somebody like The Rock, or maybe they want to save them for SmackDown, for the USA Network for SmackDown. But for Jey Uso, man, yeah, it's just, I mean, Braun Breaker can't lose, man. I'm sorry, he can't. He can't.
I feel like it's bad timing. Like it's like
it is,
because
yeah.
they've been on this kick, like, oh, he's chasing singles gold now, chasing singles gold, and he's arguably the biggest face on Raw. And then you're going to go have him lose to Braun. I don't know, man. I don't know how that's going to work.
I keep telling people about this company, bro. They don't plan ahead. They just place people. It's like a freaking like a Wheel of Fortune. Whatever fucking name it lands, that's the person that's going to feud with Braun Breaker. Oh, it lands on Jey Uso. Is there a reason, explanation? Let's just throw in a tournament and just try to make sense out of it. That's this company, man. And this is, and guys, I'll end it with this too, right? And I'll maybe briefly talk a little bit about AEW here, kind of mix into it, right? I give people such a hard time with ratings, right? Because Brian, you've said this before I have, right? WWE is very comfortable. They know that like companies like AEW and even TNA, that they're even doing business, right? They're nowhere in the same financially, right? And just globally,
No.
they're nowhere in the same vicinity, right? And this is why I keep mentioning, and I give a hard time with AEW about it as well. On their go home show to All In, they couldn't even draw over 700,000 viewers. That's a problem, right? Because guys, the better AEW, right, puts on a better product and gets more fans to attend, the more it's going to put WWE in the hot seat to put on a better product, right? So people say like, oh, I don't care about the ratings, I just want to enjoy wrestling. That's fine. You do you. Go to town, man, right? But for people to say that the ratings don't matter, you're full of shit. Because the better that these companies do ratings wise, right? And the Attitude Era, right? Monday Night Wars is a perfect...
The ratings wars, like, and go study that and see why the fucking television was so good and captivating.
Yes.
Where they were doing 8s, bro, 6, 7, 8s.
Bro, like, that's why people say to this day, man, that late 90s was the best era in wrestling, because there was no fear in missing out on what anybody did. People like Stone Cold, people like The Rock, people like NWO. Nobody could miss out on anything. Everybody
Speaking of NWO, real quick, I'm sorry. Fuck you, Logan Paul. Fuck you.
I did come across that. Yes, Logan Paul
Yeah.
was mentioned or called out Kevin Nash, saying like, "Who is Kevin Nash? Who is that?" Yes, I
If you
think.
don't, if you're in the, I mean, all serious, and I'm sure it was tongue in cheek and heel, whatever.
Probably, yeah.
You
I was
know,
gonna
I
say.
get it, but like, come on, man, you don't know who Kevin Nash. Like, if you're in the wrestling business or a wrestling fan, and no,
Yeah,
Kevin Nash isn't the greatest
yeah,
wrestler or whatever, but you know who the fucking guy is. Come on.
right. No, no, I feel you, bro. 100%. Yeah. But yeah, man. Look, again with ratings, man. Listen, I get it. People just want to enjoy the product, right? Oh, James, if you would just enjoy it a little bit more, you would enjoy the wrestling product, guys. Everything that I mention about ratings and numbers does not affect how I enjoy the wrestling product. It never has, and it never will. So, but guys, just because I enjoy something doesn't mean I don't want it to get better, right? Cody Rhodes, when he was in AEW, when he was an EVP in AEW, he said it right when AEW started production. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. And my goal on this, being a voice in this community, is to fulfill that for Cody Rhodes, even when he's in WWE as of right now, right? It's just, that's, again, we got to put sometimes, guys, our personal feelings aside and just call it for what it is, because the numbers are not adding up. We say that this business is booming. We're saying that the product is on fire. WWE is better than it's ever been, almost as better as the Attitude Era. Where the fuck is that saying? At a 1.4, right? A 1.4, when, like you said, Brian, 7s, 8s back in the 90s. And I get it. Times have changed, streaming services. But guys, if people were that interested in watching something live, they would fucking watch it, right?
I think if realistically, if you could and like say, man, if we could get back to the Attitude, like how good it was back then on a weekly basis.
Yes.
I still think because of times have changed, you're never going to get back there. But if they're able to pull in like 2 or maybe even a 3, God forbid, then you're fucking
I'll
doing
take
some
it.
shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? I mean, for Monday Night Raw, I've been dying for them to see a 2.0 average in their ratings for there was a quarterly hour segment not too long ago. I think it involved the Judgment Day, that it was over a 2 million in the first quarterly hour. I'm like, boom, there you go. People wanted to see the top of the show and how it started, right? If people are interested, man, even today's world, even when times are changing, people would still want to see it live on their television screens, bro. I'm telling you guys, it's all in the fucking numbers. And if you guys don't like that, then, well, here's 2 for you. That's all I can say. So
as
yeah,
Stone
man.
Cold would say, here's to you.
Exactly right. So that's it, man. That is your Raw review. That is your episode for today. Also from NXT, forgot to mention this, the Bloodline was a part of NXT just last night as they took out the Street Profits. Don't know why the Street Profits are on NXT. I don't have a fucking clue why, but they were in a tag title match with Axiom and Nathan Frazier, and they pretty much attacked mainly the Street Profits, as well as Axiom and Frazier. They weren't really much of a big factor. And then there was social media posts where Tama Tonga whispers, by orders of the Tribal Chief, as they were minus a Solo Sikoa. It was just Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Gorillas of Destiny, and Jacob Fatu. So we know, like I said, NXT, right? There's more network deals being done over there, the CW network. So NXT is trying to do all they can to really hype up and build up some momentum towards that first episode, which is going to be October 1st on the CW network. So everybody's trying to build up all this momentum as they can, right? Netflix, this documentary, they're trying to also promote Monday Night Raw to Netflix. So it's that time of year, man. All these streaming services, these networks, they're trying to work with all these companies. It's that time of year. So we'll see in regards to it. But yeah, so we'll talk about, speaking of the Bloodline, we will talk about SmackDown this weekend. So make sure you guys stay tuned for it. But that'll be it for today's episode, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a very long, but a lot of good discussion for today. Again, much love to everybody. Once again, if you guys are following us on Instagram and TikTok, make sure you guys do such if you haven't. That is Ruthless_Talk. Guys, we are several more followers away from 2,000 followers on TikTok. So make
Fuck
sure you guys
yeah.
spread the word. Fuck yeah, man. Get us to 2,000 followers.
2,000,
Somebody's got to
all
know
right, man.
a handful of people out there, wrestling fans, that can follow Ruthless Talk on fucking TikTok. Come on now. But it's all seriousness. And same goes for Instagram. We've gained a lot more followers on Instagram. So I want to thank everybody that has followed us on Instagram as well. Thank you guys so much, as well as tuning into these podcasts as well as on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are watching this on YouTube, hit that notification bell so that way you don't miss a single episode that is published out. So we will go over some more AEW, some more talk after the fallout of AEW All Out, right? We got Jon Moxley and this interesting stable that's going on. Shane McMahon, who knows? It's just a Jon Moxley type of deal. The Elite, who knows? You also got MJF and Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia, who knows? MJF, I know, is going to be taking some time off. There's rumors that he's going to be filming a movie after that spot at AEW All Out, that he'll be taking some time off. Daniel Garcia hasn't even signed to a contract yet, so who knows with that. Bryan Danielson is the world champion. Swerve Strickland and Adam Page, after all the shit that they've been doing over the last week or two, who knows where they go. But we'll save all of that for this weekend. But once again,
that's kind of ended like that feud, man, just like the old westerns, right? When you just like, I don't know what they call it, like the showdown, right? They just take 6 paces and just turn around and whoever shoots first.
Right. And I spoke a lot about that in regards to Swerve and Adam Page, as I did speak about that in the cold open of the last episode, as I went solo last episode. So if you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you check that out. It is on all of our platforms: YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So thank you guys for always tuning in each and every episode, and stay tuned for more content to come. Brian, the floor is yours. Your final thoughts before we end this show.
Man, just looking forward to all of the wrestling being on a weekly shows that I can watch and don't have to watch the bullshit clips for some of them. Shout out to DJ Springs, XWW, man. Hopefully,
yes.
Like I said, if you're in the North Carolina area, I hope I'm saying it right. October 5th, I believe, is their next show.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, look them up, XWW. And yeah, man, we'll see you on Saturday.
See you Saturday, yo. That'll be the SmackDown review as well as some AEW talk. Make sure you guys don't miss out. That is going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
Until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off, saying salute.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Top guys! Out.